Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for Look Behind the Look once again. I apologize for the extreme lag time between episodes, but as you know, I'm sure you're as busy as I have become in this new sort of climate of back to work, back to projects, back to life, and it feels really good. I haven't figured out how to balance all of the things that I have sort of made time for in COVID and how to work them in, to our getting back to life. But I'm certain that in 2022, we are all going to figure that out. So until then, please enjoy the episodes as they come. And you'll especially like this one. I speak to my friend Suzy Gerstein, who is a fantastic working makeup artist she and I sort of talked about a lot of things career-wise. And she has made quite a name for herself, of course. She started out working with Bobby Brown and Dick Page and Lisa Butler and so many more. And she talks with me about having to sort of take the rules and break them to sort of make a name for herself and really create her own identity in the industry. And she shares some set stories with me that I think you'll really like. And I think you'll really like her advice about sort of how to balance being a mom, working, staying sane, incorporating real life into this crazy industry. And you're going to find a lot of relatable items in our conversation. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this conversation with you so you can see that it's possible to really have an extraordinary career and keep your balance at the same time. It is possible. I promise. So I'm here talking with Suzy Gerstein. Hi, Suzy.
Hi.
And I feel like we've known each other for decades, but this is truthfully the first time that I'm going to find out about your whole career in makeup. And I'm so excited to hear the whole thing. And I purposefully didn't pre-call you or anything to see what you wanted to talk about, because I'm just going to spring on you that I want to know everything from the beginning. And let's talk about, I love also how your lower third here says learn more. Is this your son's school Zoom?
Be.
That won't show.
I even get that off.
It won't show up. It won't show up. Don't worry. But I love because
you need to learn more.
It's like a sign telling me I want to learn more about Suzy.
People have not let me onto Zooms before, on makeup Zooms, because when it's a big cosmetics event, because it's who is Harvey? Why is he? And Harvey has to come in, my 8-year-old, and he's like, Mom, you got to rename.
Oh, yeah.
They
love feeling the power of do you need me to help you with the Zoom, Mom?
I'll be your IT.
I'll be your IT. Totally. Mom. And then sometimes he'll go on another screen in another room and chat with me. You know what I mean?
God.
I'd be like, get a load of this guy. Am I right? I'm like, oh boy. Oh my gosh. So that being said, you are a mommy, and I love talking about balance. A lot of our listeners love talking about career balance, and you managed to do it beautifully. Oh my gosh. Right. I know, like a waitress with plates from the whole restaurant on our hands. But let's start at the beginning and tell me everything. How did you find yourself in this wonderful beauty career?
Well, let's see. I know, I was thinking, how far back am I going to take her? Will it be one day I was doodling when I was 5? But,
a lot of people doodled. Yeah. A lot of doodling happening.
There's a lot. It's not unusual. So I definitely, I related to the beautiful film with Kevyn, Aucoin, and my friend Veronica worked on the book. My gosh.
She's the best. Veronica's at Aucoin, of course, and she's a goddess and
an artist. And so I related to that because I doodled a lot. I drew faces. I remember my art teacher kind of scolding me because all I drew were faces. She's like, you got to diversify. It would just it would always turn into a face. And then my mom bless her, she set me up with this woman who taught named Julie Lester, who taught art class in her house and talk about balance. Like she had 3 kids and she was very artistic temperament. Like she told me when she was working on a painting, if it wasn't going her way, she would throw the cans of paint. And I was like, what a cool lady. Like I'm a little scared of her, but so she was really helpful because in my school itself, the art classes weren't really instructional. They were just sort of like freestyle but she was really helpful. She would like help me look at things and see things and not just like draw a caricature of like a tree in my mind's eye, but like look and draw the tree. So we spent a lot of time. She let me draw like old Vogue magazines and all the supermodels in their heydays. So that was really neat.
Oh,
yeah.
And where did you grow up?
In Riverdale, New York, which is in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know now there's that show Riverdale, which I haven't seen, but I know, yeah, it was kind of like a mix. It was a nice place, but like a mix between suburb and city. And it's only like 15 minutes from Manhattan, but we'd be like, are you going into the city?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You met a friend from the city. You felt so cool. So I was definitely a little sheltered growing up, but yeah, so that is the first entree. And then I would say I would, like a lot of kids in the 80s, I had a TV in my room, like a little
Me
TV.
too. Mm-hmm.
And you did.
Yes.
I would, oh my gosh.
Tiny little thing with rabbit ears. Yep.
Oh, the best. So I would watch, somehow I happened upon Q2, which was like an offshoot of QVC that they were experimenting with. And this woman, Elena Herkova, who founded Il Maquillage, was on there. They had a half screen and she did a full-on like disco makeover on half. And I was just transfixed. I was like, you can do that? Like you can do that for work? And I was like, done, sold.
How come I didn't know about this channel?
Oh my God. It was, I think it was like a little more fast paced than QVC, but still like,
Q2.
Nothing went wrong in that world. Yeah. Q2. Nice. Like the new QVC, like
and Il Maquillage, that went away and now it's back. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. So yeah, that I never used any of that makeup. I would just like, go to the Regal Pharmacy on Johnson Avenue and I would buy like whatever I could scrape together to buy like a Wet n Wild pencil and just like try to recreate the looks. And so that was how I started. And then I ended up going to school for English and Spanish lit. Like I didn't know if I was going to become a teacher or a makeup artist, but I did a summer teaching where I was like, no, I don't want to become one of those teachers who burns out because she didn't follow her passion. We all had those who were like so mean or like turned to the bottle because they were frustrated. So I'm like, no, I'm going to pursue this makeup thing. And then I ended up, this is so random, but when I poured over magazines like you probably did as a kid. And I recognized Linda Mason. No. Linda
Cantello.
Thank you. Of course you know that. I recognized her in the supermarket when I first graduated college. And I was like, Suze, you have to go up to her. This is like, oh my God. So I went up to her and I think I scared her because I was so green. And I was like, I love your work. You are so inspiring to me and you're inspired. And I love your work. If you ever just need someone to like hold your Q-tips. And she looked at me like, who is this girl? But she actually hooked me up to meet her agent.
And I mean, I'm sure this didn't happen to Linda Cantello every day. You know what I mean?
I guess that's like, true. She's like, how does this girl know me?
Yeah. I love this.
So I met her agent and I almost like he answered the door in his underwear. Like he was very quirky. Mm-hmm. And he was like, could tell I was very nice. I dressed up like so much and he's like answers the door like in his jammies. And he's just like, why do you want to do this job? Like why would you want to, this is like, what's the point? And so it was just a learning experience. He actually allowed me to go to the show test with her for Carolina Herrera. I believe it was like summer 2003 or something. And Serge Normant was there.
Wow.
And I got to like hold her eponymous line that was beautiful. And just like, and I remember Linda V was the model. She was starting out and it was just an really interesting experience. Carolina Herrera treated me with such graciousness. Like, as the lowly assistant, you're like, you just want to disappear. And I'm pretty shy by nature. So I kind of fake it when I'm in a group, but she was like, thank you for being here. The Warhols of her on her, everything was perfection. Like her perfume was in the bathroom, all of her perfumes. So I was starstruck. I felt
Do
like
you have any of the line anymore? Or
I think I have one lipstick. Yeah,
amazing. Oh my God.
yeah. So
Wow.
that show was a little overwhelming to me, truth be told, because I was like, I saw models in person and it was so fast paced and it was, you know how it is. I was
Of
like,
course.
this, and I had no idea how the F to do makeup on people other than like my college friends or myself or my mom. Like I did my mom for my brother's bar mitzvah. But I think when they asked me, have you ever done makeup on someone? I was like, ugh. So I literally was just like holding her Q-tips and watching and absorbing. And that was really a learning experience, like how to, just take it in, but not be in the way. And from then I just kind of, so then I did a bunch of assisting, like just one thing led to another, like, how get in people's networks, did testing. And then the two other kind of like, I would say instrumental people in my career were Bobbi Brown. I met because I was kind of down on the biz. Like I was just like, this is so hard to break into. And I don't know if
like after the fashion shows and stuff.
Yeah, I'm so sensitive and I was like picking up on all this energy and not knowing what my place was and not knowing how to get my foot in the door. And so my girlfriend from college was like, you really like fashion. Why don't you volunteer at Dress for Success, the nonprofit that helps women get off of public assistance and they've already landed job interviews. So you're basically helping them pick out a suit that's appropriate for an interview so that they can feel confident. And it took me outside of myself. And actually, Tiffany, there was a whole station of Bobbi Brown makeup, like complete collection.
Like a counter.
Yes. And so I was like the only one who was playing with it. And it was before COVID. So I was literally like putting it on. And
of course.
Yeah. And Bobbi ended up doing, I ended up doing people's makeup of all different complexions. I was the only one who wanted to like play with the makeup. So they would have their outfit picked out and they'd be like, well, let's find a complimentary look. And then we could give them the makeup we use, which was so sweet. And it was like the best thing. I met really good friends to this day who I still keep in contact with, like the volunteer coordinator. This organization was started in a church basement and grew to have satellites like all over the world. So it's pretty remarkable. So anyways, I met Bobbi when she did a personal appearance there and they filmed her. And I was taken aback by how she just came in and like had this Birkin bag and just like tossed it on the floor and was like, let's get to work, roll up our sleeves. And it was really cool. I met her. She just like asked me, what do you want to do? This is so cool that you're doing this with your time. Come to the event, the gala. So I came to this gala, I got my hair all done and to the
Dress for Success gala.
Yeah. And I got to sort of see more about her work. Lorraine Bracco was at our table and I was like, what? Like I'm drinking wine with Lorraine Bracco and Bobbi Brown. And of course, that was just like another, it's never that straight path. Like no one's going to do the work for you. So she asked me if I wanted to, she actually had heard of my college, which was the one way that my education and all the blood, sweat, and tears had kind of like helped my career, was that she was like, my sons are going to be applying to colleges. This is a great school. Like you have great grades. And I'm like, I don't know how that's going to do anything.
Because you were in college now at this time that we're talking about. Okay. From where?
Wesleyan University. And I had a resume, which like nobody has in our industry, but I was such a nerd. I'm like, here's my resume, Bobbi. Like, and so she ended up saying, do you ever want to work in a salon? She got me a job interview at this Upper East Side salon called Salon AKS. It was started by 3 people who worked at Fakai together, Alan, Cal, and Susanna. And it was a lot of like ladies who lunch, but they had Bobbi Brown's makeup there. And so I worked there for a couple of years while kind of freelancing at counters. And so that was like, that, and then Bobbi put me through her master class, which was also interesting because I could see ways that I was different. Like my style was different.
How did you notice it to be different?
Well, one thing is she had a lot of like mantras, or a lot of, concealer is the key to the universe. And I had grown up reading Allure and it was like, Dick Page was like, I didn't get the fucking memo on curling eyelashes or like on like everybody needs concealer. And Bobbi will do concealer to right underneath your eye.
Yeah.
Where I like to leave that skin detail. So it was an interesting way to be like, or even just like the people who did my makeup worked in counters and I worked in counters, but they had a different style. It was like, you like, your face looks like you need this kind of an eyeliner. And I just remember leaving feeling like, I feel like it's not me.
Rules are meant to be broken.
Exactly. They did have an artistry coordinator who kind of got my vibe. And she's like, yeah, so that was interesting. I also took a class with Linda Mason, who did your like makeup based on your horoscope.
I want that.
Kind of interesting. It was fun. And it was weird. Like, we were just like, I don't even know what she printed out our test shoot that we did on like regular printer. It was like coming out. But I got to know her because I helped her daughter do makeup for her opera performances. And so it just gave me more confidence because we vibed together, her daughter and I, more than she and I actually did. This girl, Daisy. So she was like beautiful. And she was like, you have a very nice touch. And I was like, really? Like, so it got me more confident. And then lastly, my last big influence was meeting my mentor, Chris Colbeck, who assisted Kevyn for a couple of years.
Yeah.
A Brit, lovely, salt of the earth, and like my brother from another mother. Like, we just have very similar kooky senses of humor. I met him when I cold called a bunch of agencies.
You did that.
Yeah. And he actually encouraged me, like, when it came up to a cystic Page or like Polly Osmond or Lisa Butler, he'd be like, do it, poodle. Like, they're all different. You're going to learn from them. And nobody does that. No one's like, you should not work for me exclusively. So, so he was really instrumental in like getting me out there, and also just, he did Trudy Styler's makeup a lot. So I got to kind of just get more comfortable with like etiquette, doing celebrities through him. We did like a lot of like really random celebrity jobs together where it was just fun. Like, he helped me just stay within myself, like know who I am and not feel like swayed by all the craziness around me. And he's still like my best friend.
What is, when you talk about celebrity etiquette, what is that? It is, of course, learned. And when you make a mistake, you just don't get called again, right? It's not that anybody tells you like, now this is why we're not calling you again. You just all of a sudden realize that you're not being called. What are some mistakes? Like, what are some things that you learned in working with celebrities that you?
I think like the best experiences I've had were when I centered myself before I came in, and I just kind of like relaxed myself and then was sort of quiet and just receptive to their mood. Like, maybe they don't want to talk. Like, I did Annette Bening, and she was like, I loved it because I was, I love Regarding Henry. You love that film. And I was kind of nervous and like Bugsy. And she just had the political channel blasting. I forget what political, it was probably the Trump election. And I could just tell from her vibe that she just wanted it quiet. And I was like, that is so great for me because I could focus. And I'm right. It's very intimate, right? You're right in people's face. The hairdresser didn't get the memo. So she was chit-chatting and like name dropping. And there's always that where you're like, oh, mercy. Like, I feel for you that you're not, or maybe she just didn't care and just wanted to talk. But so, yeah, I mean, and there are people who I think like to surround themselves with chatty patties and get outside of themselves. And that's why I think it's really like, there's a, what is it? My mom says, like, for every kettle, there's a lid or something like that. Like,
that's cute.
Matches.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I've also learned a lot, like when, I don't know, like I've done people where I just could feel like they didn't love something. And I would ask like at the time, my agent, and they're like, one of my agents, Bianca, was super, super euphemistic. And I loved that, but you could still tell what she wanted. She was direct too. So she was like, were you light-handed? And I'm like, oh. See, I feel like
she would ask you to think about your part in it.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that was some of the feedback I got, like for celebrity. And I think I'm learning that now that I have to do my own freaking makeup for these like videos, that you sometimes need that armor. Like I tend to have a very like editorial preference for, my aesthetics, but sometimes it feels really good to have like a chiseled out face or an extra lash. So kind of, I think that's another celebrity thing, is just reading what someone feels is the most important thing that they want. And really like, you're there to help them feel like their best self, right? Not always just make some kind of a mark.
I find that there's two types of of clients, right? One that wants you to like look like you are putting all of your creative energy into them, and you just don't you're just the vessel. And then there's the other one that expects you to look as good as you're going to make them look, and they sort of like are disappointed or something if you look like not made up. So it's hard to tell like which one your client is going to be unless you already know.
Oh, that's so true too. I guess I was talking about like actually how I made them look.
Okay.
You know, like,
yes, of course. Yeah.
But you're so right, because I feel like I've had that. I mean, when I was going to do Sting, I remember Chris was like, wear something sexy, poodle. And I'm like,
no.
That was like before me too, but I don't know. It wouldn't have mattered what I wore, but like a little flirtation with Sting. I feel like he was just like, give him a little something.
I mean,
but
come on.
No, but
I
totally agree. I've had clients where I think they look at me and I'm like so natural looking that they're kind of like scared, you know.
I know, isn't that funny? Yeah. I always like the hairdresser that has like the crazy things, because I can tell she's like experimenting and she has like a mascara wand holding her hair up or something. I kind of like that chick, because I'm like, oh, okay, well, she's like making fun, you know, she's having fun with her stuff. But then other people are like, oh my God, like she's gonna do. I remember like at the Mac counter, you would always be like with a friend at the Mac counter, and she would think like, are you gonna do something? Don't do anything crazy, because they would always look, you know, like totally over the top, and they'd be like thinking that they were going to do that on their face, you know. It's like
totally, yeah, where you're funny. Like, Mac counter must be such great training too.
Theatrics.
And didn't you feel like you met, like, so I did the Stila counter for a while, and I feel like I just met a lot. Oh, and Ellis Foss back when it was, a line at Macy's. I felt like I met people who just cracked me up, and like and having to like figure it out, size it up, and also not take it personally when people were like, do the whole face. Sorry, I'll come back. I'll think about it. Like,
I need to see it in the light. I really need to see it in the different lights.
The different lighting.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay.
That was a trip.
But you were never at a counter. You were at the foundation. It was like where you got your like blanket mosaic of all the New York faces, right? At Dress for Success was where you were really greeted with like a blanket of just every type and every skin tone and right.
I mean, and then I did freelance at like Stila, Bobby Brown, and Ellis Foss, and
you did
makeup. I did for a bit.
And a Suey makeup.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. That was with Jenna Menard. She's another makeup artist who we were on Dick's team together, Dick Page's team, and she was like, she did a lot of shows and she's just a really great makeup artist. And I think she got me that gig. We had met on like some random summer internship, and I think I did her sister's wedding with her, and she's still married to the same guy, which is nice. But so that was an interesting gig, just like because the products were so heavily pigmented, so we could have fun with it.
Yeah. Oh my God. And the packaging, ridiculous.
The perfume did like get to my head, but that's, you know how that is working at the counter. People are like, let me try this and this. I'm like, how do you know which is which? Yeah.
I worked across from Angel, and I'll never be able to smell Angel ever again.
My college best friend wore that. It's so strong. It's like, it's a good idea, but like, let's not go overboard.
So much Angel. And I remember it was always like, it has chocolate in it. It has chocolate.
That was the thing.
Yeah. There's chocolate in it. I was like,
I just rather have a chocolate bar.
Exactly. So then what brought you to Dick Page?
So it was just, I think I had just met with a bunch of different agents. Back then you would just kind of call the agencies, right? Like cold call them and be like, you know, I'm willing to assist for I need, you know, I would say I kind of intimated that I would do it for free, but I didn't, because like, you know, people paid, but it was, you know how it is in fashion. It takes like 6 months anyway. So it's like, I did it for free, but so I got on a show with Dick. I think it was Alexander Wang. And I think like it took a couple of shows for him to notice like that I was, you know, I just kind of kept to myself, and I wasn't, a lot of people would like pull like the big models, and I just kind of stayed back, hung back, watched him, and I learned so much. And I think eventually, I think one of the Marc Jacobs shows, I think I was across from him. So he saw my model, and then he asked me to do a couple travel jobs with him, which was really exciting for me.
Wow.
We did like some W shoots and a Shiseido job. And so that was cool. Just like getting to see how his process, and he was like a lot different than Chris. Chris's style was, after assisting Kevyn, was a lot. I mean, I learned so many things about like transformation through him. And then, like, pairing it back. Not to say Chris can't do paired back, because he could, but it was just really interesting to see the different styles. I assisted the late Scott Andrew, who also had, I think, assisted Dick and Kevyn. So he told me that he got his own style from the combo too. Yeah.
Totally different worlds.
Yeah. So just, I remember being confused when I would go between artists on shows.
Like, how's that?
Like if an artist used hands versus sponges, and you're like, who am I? Like, what's happening? Like, I just got yelled at once because I think I did a job where I kind of was doing the Kevyn technique of like applying a lot of foundation and then like sponging it off. It was before Beauty Blender. So I was like using an Aucoin sponge. And I remember the makeup artist being like, you don't need that much foundation. And I was like, it's going to get there. But I kind of also learned that, you have to watch who you're working with. I don't think I was the best assistant because I kind of had my own way, and sometimes wasn't the most organized, like ADD.
Please. Oh my God. That's all it is. Sometimes it's a very different, it's a different art form to be an assistant. Right. And I can't wrap my mind around using something and then putting it back where you got it from. Like, I don't know what that is.
That's so hard. I know. And
then at the end of the week, my table is just full of shit. And I'm like,
thank you.
Okay.
I actually am going to hire, have you heard of Grishan Roof? Like she's like the queen of organization. Our mutual friend Todd is friends with her. And she like will depot, will put things. I feel like it's going to change my life. So my friend Fiona Stiles was like, if you can, it's a worthwhile investment.
Really? Well, she's the most organized.
Oh my gosh. And she's very funny, apparently, and like very down to earth. So, I mean, if I were the queen of organization, I'd be like, but she's not cocky. So I had to do a video of my stuff that I want her to organize. I took the video and sent it to her. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted how it goes.
Yes, please.
But the goal also being taking weight out, because you know how it is.
Yeah. So how do you do that? What's a tip that you do for foundations? You don't know. You just
I do
break your back.
It's not streamlined. So like, I'll do it. Like I'll put, I like the Z palettes for eyeshadows. What else do I do? I've watched like YouTube tutorials on how to do it. With foundations, I use like the little Muji containers.
Okay.
It's sometimes painful, how pretty packaging is, to take it out. But
I know. And it's so impressive for the client sometimes, I guess, for them to go like, oh, you have blah, blah, blah. And you lose that. Yeah.
And sometimes I do leave it just because I know those like light shimmery shadows will break. But so I tend to do that. And then I like these, I brought them next to me, these well insulated. Have you seen these? You have to meet the founder. She's really cool. And she's like supportive of artists. This girl, Julie, but she was in tech and just realized that there was nothing to keep her makeup kind of like temperature controlled.
Oh, wow.
So it does that, and it like keeps it from, besides, it actually really does keep it from melting. Like for my daughter's birthday party, I ran out of kind of like Tupperware stuff because I was bringing so much crap. So I ended up using the big trunk one with a freezer bag for the cupcakes I made in like 90-degree weather, and it stayed.
Oh my God. Tell me the name again of the company.
It's called Well Insulated.
Well Insulated.
And this is the rose gold bit, and there's lots of different shapes. She's super open as well to artist feedback. So like she'll come over and be like, tell me, do you think this is a good shape? Are the zippers too low? And I've given her makeup lessons. So we kind of like, we're supportive of each other's businesses, but I like that it kind of keeps things smaller. And so the trunk one, I can put palettes in and know that they won't melt.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's just like the bane of my existence is like, I still have anxiety dreams about like, I can't find that lipstick or I'm assisting Pat McGrath, which I never did. But in my dream, I'm like, where's that lipstick she wants? The number 400. And like,
or like you're doing Bette Midler and all of a sudden she says in the anxiety dream, and she says like, I'd like a silver glitter. And you're like,
I took that out.
Not
I definitely said Bette Midler will not want glitter.
You always, you can't fake a glitter. That actually happened. It shows you sometimes when you don't have something, it's better. Like I did, Eva Chan from,
Instagram.
Yeah. So I did her once when she was like at Vogue, I think, or Teen Vogue. And I was like, she always wears a light lip. Like,
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So she asked for a vamp color lip. And luckily I had like I feel like I had like a red eyeshadow and a black eye pencil, and I just made it work. And, I feel like at the time I was like, oh my God. But then she did something that I forget what we had back. Maybe it was Instagram. She like Instagrammed it, and it was like, oh, she did this cool lip. And I'm like, you just never know. You have to be creative.
She did love it. She loved it.
Yeah, which is good.
That's so great. Oh my God.
There used to be a lot of doing those. I'm sorry, go on.
I was saying your creativity saved the day, but that's all your education. I mean, how would you know seriously, how do you know what to do?
Yeah, that is true. Like watching other artists have to, and have to change it. Like how many times have you heard like, oh, that's too heavy, that's too light. I remember assisting like Janine Lobel, and she was like, I never use anything permanent on anything like that you can't move on the eye because
she likes it. She liked it to be.
Yeah. She's like, people ask you to change it so much. And I'm like, they're asking her to change it. I feel a little bit better because you know how I kind of figured out a lot of times on fashion shoots, the art director, whatever their thing is, like if they don't like their eyebrows, let's say, that usually has more to do with it. Like they're obsessing over like the eyebrow hair or like the freckle. And I just learned like not to take it personally. Just when I started out, I think I was a little bit more like ego driven or like insecure. So I'd be like, oh, you don't like it? Or maybe I'd be tied to something. Like, I think that blush is really important.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, you don't like it. Okay. Like, let's change it. It's not rocket science.
That's really interesting. Because so you're like, oh, they're talking about the eyebrows obsessively. And then you notice that like, that's their thing. Yeah.
Totally. Or it can have a lot to do with them more than you.
Your niche, as far as I can see, is like mastering no makeup. I mean, do you really have that down? Like you can make somebody look like you're complimenting the face and not like, oh, wow. I mean, I can look at it and say, that's a great makeup job, but like to the layman's eye, it would be like, she just looks beautiful. And so what do you think is the most important things to that look? Like a fresh face. All of your faces are just fresh and great skin. I mean, you're a master at skin. Where did you learn that? And like, what are some of your tricks?
Let's see. Where did I learn? Well, skin, I guess I've always just felt like if they look beautiful, my job is to not really mess it up. And it's also a preference thing. Like, I just think when I see foundation caked on, it gives me anxiety. But at times it's so masterfully done that I can be hypnotized by it, like on, some people's videos. But yeah, where did I learn? I learned through watching, like my friend Chris is fantastic with skin. And he would use like just concealers, like same with Diane Kendall. When I did a few shows with her, she would just use like really heavily pigmented concealer. And you're like, how do you do that and make it look like nothing? That's amazing. But it's really just, and I remembered hearing that once, like, you don't have to, like someone asked, I forget who it was, like Aaron DeMay or some beautiful editorial makeup artist, like, what's your favorite foundation? He's like, I don't really use foundation. And I was like, whoa, you don't have to use foundation. So kind of just the freeing aspect of like looking at a face and saying, does it need foundation, or can I use the foundation sparingly? And I mean, with red carpet, it's obviously different. There's a time and a place, but when the lighting is controlled and so watching someone like Lisa Butler, who's a British makeup artist, she would literally do like the couture shoots we would do. She would do the makeup like on set. So she would start it in the chair, but like, she's like, okay, let's bring them on. And she taught me you don't have to angst about it. And you can, I still do angst about it often, but like she was so free with it. Like she would just kind of see on set and kind of talk to herself in this cute little way, like, and like not, and be so kind to me as her assistant. But then she would just like, throw on whatever it is that look good in the light. So it's kind of like gauging the light, gauging, like, I'll look up a photographer beforehand. It's helpful now to be able to see the model's Instagram as well and see what they look like if they don't filter, hopefully, like without makeup, what their skin tone is. But yeah, so I think I learned it by watching, and then also just by trial and error. Like I did a couple tests where I remember the test shoots where the photographer was like, she looked better before. And I was like, oh, but he was right. Like I didn't need, when you're testing and you're trying to make your mark, and maybe I was trying really hard.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So just kind of saying, well, maybe it's true. Maybe I can back off of that a little bit. And yeah, so that's kind of how and I'm still honing that, like, when I do real women as well, it's like, well, if she feels more comfortable with a little shaping and a little, I have a funny story about that. So there was this Sex and the City, the film junket, and I was doing a correspondent for E, who shall remain nameless, but she had like a real affinity for
contour,
a beat face. Yeah. So again, it's me, and I'm like, I can contour. I obviously do that, but like I prefer it lighter. Yeah. So I finished her makeup, and she's like, okay. Like you can tell when they don't love it. And then she's like, I'll meet you with the girls, like Sarah, Jessica, and all them in the interview. And I'm like, okay. And she goes into the bathroom, emerges, and has drawn on like Ronald McDonald brows, full, but it's like red contour. And that's the face that I am to touch up in front of like Serge Normand and like Leslie Lopez and all these amazing Genevieve people who are there to touch up the Sex and the City girls. And then there's me who's like, but she paid me, and I was like, okay.
Oh no. I love that.
Yeah, but it's funny how she said she liked it. Like I wouldn't notice.
I can see the whole thing.
Right?
Dives into the mirror, takes out her bag, her filthy bag.
Amazing. But I will say on camera, she knew her light. It did blow out a bit, and it didn't look that bad. I was like, okay, maybe I can learn a thing. So I also feel like that's something that I try to bring to every job. Like, what can I learn from this? So if the client likes it a little heavier, I gotta, I wouldn't be able to do that, but I gotta be able to still make them comfortable. So yeah, figuring that whole dance out.
Oh my God. I love it.
I was like, oh, mercy.
I love it. I love also your videos. You teach people. So tell me what happened with the videos and like your lessons. Were you doing lessons before COVID? Yes. You were. Yes. Okay. And so then you started. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I started because I had my daughter, and she was home with me more, and I loved it. I was like, I don't know. It just felt like, okay, I get
more choosy about leaving the house.
Yes. Yeah. And then I also felt like I was getting like the whole e-com thing, the rates were going down a bit, and they were asking for more. And I was like, I'll do it. It's a blessing to have that as a bread and butter, but I also, let's see how I can expand. And like, I enjoy teaching lessons. So through this store called the Detox Market, I think I taught a group class and just started to figure, I think I got that. A kind of mentor of mine in clean beauty is Katie Deno. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yes,
yeah, so
yes.
She's just very generous with her knowledge, and would like, she told me that she was doing lessons. I forget how it came about. Maybe I went to one of her classes, and I was like, that's something you can do. That's cool. And if I shop at this place, why don't I try teaching women and helping? A lot of friends will be like, I don't know how the heck, you probably get that all the time. Like, help me. And so I'm in Sephora May Day.
I love a text like that. I'm just like, get out, get away from that, wherever you're standing.
Yes, exactly.
Redirect them.
I taught some classes there. I did a couple of private lessons and figuring that out. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, I can't really do that in person. It's terrifying, but Oh, also selfishly, it was a way for me to not have to carry my kit and caboodle everywhere and schlep it. So if I could do it at home, we moved, so I have a bigger space with daylight. So I was like, if I could do that at home.
Yes.
And so anyways, I did a little bit of that when the pandemic hit. I had to regroup, and I do teach some Zoom makeup lessons as
So
now
great.
I started to do that, but it's nice now that I could with Veronica Ibarra. I do we did a wedding, and I've started to kind of do some more real people again,
Wow.
which I just feel like is a nice refreshing change of pace.
I know. Yeah, I know.
You
I know.
like it? Do you like doing like
I
one-on-one?
I still do sometimes. I mean, I'm super choosy, you know what I mean? And I like, I'm really like, sort of down on the down low about it because, I you want to
I
use
know.
your energy sparingly.
Yes. Yeah. And it is like
So
I've had the wrong fit too with people where
yeah.
I advertised on this one Facebook moms page, the Upper East Side moms. And every time I met someone, it was just like not quite the click. Like it was just it was kind of like they were, where the Upper West Side moms, not to be East Side, West Side gang sign-y, but the West Side moms are more my peeps, I think. So I met a couple cool ones on the East Side, but and then the videos.
That's really funny.
The videos happened because, my agent before used to tell me like, you should do a YouTube channel. And I would laugh because I'm like, there's no way I'm getting myself on camera. But then I started to look inward and realize a lot of it was like a kind of self-loathing, and not self-loathing, that's strong, but like
just judgment
and like being in this
fear.
and being in the smoke and mirrors industry where you help make people look like perfect, who already like have alien features that look amazing on camera. And also I went through this whole health thing I told you about, but after I had my son, where I had thyroid cancer, and I'm fine now, but I had my thyroid removed. And that wasn't even the big thing. I had thyroid eye disease. So it kind of changed my eyes. And that was the real thing. Like I could kind of relate to what I would imagine Kevyn was going through when his appearance was changing. And it's kind of like a mind fuck, because you're like, I'm in the appearance business and I'm not seeing myself that I feel like I am back in the mirror. So going through all that, I went finally, after I had my daughter, I had a surgery that kind of corrected the asymmetries as much as possible. And I was like, you know what, this is me. And I'm going to just like celebrate that we can kind of embrace our kooky selves and hopefully get other women to do that and be alive and like have fun. And so that's kind of what my videos are now. It's like, okay, like I'm here and I'm not going to try to disappear.
Well, how was that rewarded? People loved them, right?
It's really sweet. Yeah. People, I love getting like a DM from someone I worked with like 10 years ago, who's like a stylist or something, who's like, I love it. Like it's fun. It makes my day. Or I don't know, when people say it makes someone was like, my husband's like, what are you watching? Cause I'm like painting pink on my cheeks, but it's kind of like people saying that, they'll play more with their makeup or I don't think I'm like reinventing the wheel or anything. Like I kind of like that it can be simple.
Yes.
And that, right. Like it can be embellishment and like celebrating your features and fun color play, but it doesn't have to be like this really unattainable technique.
Yeah. It's so approachable. Yeah.
So that kind of, it's funny, like getting feedback from people, like, and people don't know. I think Instagram makes it look like you're making $1 million from a video where it's like sponsored post, but people be like, you're killing it. And and then they're like, you're so brave or real or something that's like a little bit like, oh, what do they mean? But then I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I'm real. Like I don't filter. I mean, sometimes I'll throw a little Paris on if it's like a story, but I try to
How can you resist Paris? Paris, it fixes it all. It's the best. Yes.
So true. But I try to not like correct things that, I always tell people, like, when you do models and everybody has something like, will you trim my nose hair? Or like, there's all these things that people think, are perfect, because little girls growing up think that, because nobody's not like laying it bare and showing them. So I like just saying we all have our things. Nobody's perfect, right?
Yes. Yes. I just got, it's so great that we're having this conversation. I wasn't expecting it, but, like yesterday, there was a comment under, I interviewed, Theo Kogan from the Lunatics, who's like a punk rock star, you know,
Right on.
makeup artist. And somebody, a Lunatics fan, wrote underneath the thing, this interviewer is obsessed with the Cinderella complex and thinks that if she looks a certain way, the world, the man will Prince Charming will find her and save her. Right. And it was deleted before I could respond. So I went to respond to it, and she had deleted it, I guess, because she heard the rest of the interview. But, you know, I talk about it a lot where with my friends that isn't it okay to feel good about yourself? Like, you know what I mean? Like if you want to fix something, it's okay. I'm not doing it for a man. I am not doing it for Prince Charming. I am doing it for me. Like I gained weight during COVID and I feel shitty about it. And you know what I mean? I'm trying to change it. Like I don't understand why I have to accept, or I know you have to accept it, but why do I have to, if it just doesn't feel right, why can't I change it? You know what I mean? And that's
It's
the world that we
empowering.
live in. It's empowering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know it is brave to put yourself out there. And then you're like, wait, why are they saying brave? Should I not be?
Yes.
You know what I
The
mean?
double standard we face as women, right? It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Totally.
Like, she looks tired, or yeah. And I also noticed, like, when you look, like when I was in mid eye surgeries and one of my eyes was kind of drooping, or I mean, people talk to me differently. And I don't know
What
if
do you mean?
well, I don't know if it's because I didn't make like the full eye contact. Like I wasn't, a lot of it could be that, like I wasn't fully confident. So I didn't like approach
interesting.
people. But there was like, you know, people would be like, a publicist would be like, ooh, that looks like it hurts. What's wrong with your eye? Or, you know, it just didn't. So I just feel like when we carry ourselves like we're our most confident selves, we put that energy forward, and you know, you just see the return in a different way.
Yeah.
So if you're not confident, then it's sort of a double standard, because I also agree that, you know, there isn't one standard that should be adhered to. Like I was at swimming practice with my daughter who's 3, and there was this adorable girl who is just like campaign, like Prada kids. Like she's just like has all the moves down, like, pulls down her goggles, and she's like, Mom, are you filming this? The mom was like telling me that her daughter, she said, like, you know, she got my body, like she got my butt, and it's like kind of chubby. And I'm like, are you kidding? Your daughter is perfect. And please don't put that on her. Like, please. No. I've had too many friends with eating disorders. And I actually said that. I was like, she's perfect. And
good.
She wasn't overweight, but even if she were, to see it start so young.
Oh my God. I thought these days were over. And sometimes you get a reminder that they're not.
I know. So I just feel like I want, having a daughter, I'm even more conscious of that.
Of course.
Like, sure, you want to put on the crazy ass princess outfit, go for it. But I also want you to know that like your heart is beautiful, your mind is beautiful. And I don't think I grew up with that message enough. I think it was kind of like, you're an object. Not that my parents treated me like that, but
no,
the way they praise girls versus boys, you even notice it when I walk out with my daughter versus my son. People are just like, beautiful princess. And then, you know, he didn't get that. He didn't get the, like, you're so, you know, he'd get handsome, but she gets it all the time. And it's kind of like, I just don't want them thinking that that's their value, because that's
really interesting.
Yeah. It's just one of those.
So what do you do to counteract that? Or you just say to her affirmations of her heart?
Yeah. I read that on like Viola Davis's Instagram, like that I don't know if she has a daughter or she reposted somebody saying, yeah, just your heart, you know, affirmations of her heart, her mind. And then also just, how did that make you feel? Like when you did that,
a check-in.
Right. So also that they're not looking for the external validation, which
Mhm.
I still look for all the time,
Yeah.
but I think I was
Yeah.
wired to look for it. So so I just think because they're watching us all the time, right? Like they're not always,
Yeah.
they're not listening to us most of the time.
Mhm.
They're not listening to what we tell them to do. They're
Yeah,
watching what
yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And then I think it helps. Like I love watching her do her play with my makeup because she's not doing it like to fix something. She's just like
Celebrating
yes,
color.
yes. She's like, we
Mhm.
connect all the dots on the face. And like,
Oh.
this is, she curls her animal's eyelashes and she's not sure why she's doing that, but
I love it. I love that. I want a
But yeah,
makeup
the
lesson
play.
from her. I'm
oh
gonna
my
get
God, Judy. Yeah. I don't know if we can afford her, but yeah. But yeah, it's fun. I try, that brings the fun back at least. I
Yeah.
don't show her face in my videos, but I feel like if I did, that would make it go viral.
Isn't that funny? I know people say that all the
Right?
time. They're like, put a kid in it. And da, da, da. If you put Jackson in this, it would be, I'm like, okay.
I don't know if
And
Jackson
then what?
wants it.
No. And
No.
then what? And then what? You know, what do you,
True.
what? What are we going to do with all this?
He's 13, right?
12. Acts like he's like
Oh my
17.
gosh.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
But he likes to remind people that men can be makeup artists too. And yeah, I'll never forget when we were at this NARS event and the PR girl, I think it was Eloise at the time. She's like, boys can be makeup artists too. And he goes, yeah, I know. Like Kevyn Aucoin, Francois NARS, and Troy Surratt. And he was like 4. I'll never forget.
That is amazing.
Cindy Rodriguez was there. We were laughing so hard.
I love Cindy schooling them. He's like, don't try to teach me about that. My mom's a boss and I know. He knows his history.
I know.
I can't believe it. 4, I would have died.
I was like, yay.
That's so cool.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
My son did a story on Misty Copeland. He was like the only boy in his class. And I was like, that's so cool.
How did he know about Misty?
I think he picked up a book in school. They had a book in their school library. And
oh my God.
I just thought that's really cool. And then reading about her and how she gives back, to girls and her mentor. And I was like, she's the real deal. She's someone I'd love to work with.
Incredible. You're like, Misty, calling Misty, please. So right now, it's like, just where do you see things going? Like now, this last fashion week, right, was pretty bizarre. What happens now? What could like a young makeup artist? I always think like the kinds that are like getting off the train and they're like, I'm gonna do fashion week. Like, where would they? Is there any goal like that? What is it the climate like now that you see?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I don't either. I really don't. I'm honestly trying to find out. Like, if I had a time machine and I had to give somebody advice, I would just tell them to start in a Sephora store and hope for the best and hope somebody.
I always think that's great advice, though. Like, touch as many faces as you can, and like, meet as many different people and deal with personalities. That was the salon helped with that, right? Like dealing with different personalities. I feel younger. When I turned 40, I started to feel younger than I did when I was like in my 20s because I made it a point to do exercise. And it's so boring, but like doing the online things that you can just do on your phone, even if it's like 15 or 30 minutes, just moving your body. I think because our jobs are so physical, it really saved me. I was starting to get like chronic back pain where it would like kind of interfere with jobs.
I had the same thing.
Did.
And I almost had to completely quit.
How did you fix it? How did you still get it?
Scheduling acupuncture after like a big week, like scheduling it before the job and then making sure that appointment is there when I am done.
Acupuncture is really great for that.
It's great. Some Western medicine doctor like convinced me I was going to have to get back surgery.
No.
And I was like, gonna schedule it, and then I was talking to like 2 friends and thank God somebody was like, you do not need back surgery. You can have a herniated disc for the rest of your life if you get acupuncture and do a chiropractor every once in a while. And
Amazing.
it was totally successful. So it's a lot of maintenance, but oh my God,
Yeah,
back surgery gone wrong would be
horrendous. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the Gloria Steinem shoot. What was that like?
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay. There's a funny little backstory that is you'd get as a mom that so I was excited. I had done Annie Lee Boots' makeup for like a couple of random, like she does portraits of people as like birthday gifts and things. So I would get called for that or to do her own makeup. So I was okay with, I wasn't like super nervous like you would be the first time working with her.
Okay.
I'd worked with her, but I was excited to meet Gloria Steinem. The backstory is that, of course, I was deep in mom land and I had a new daughter and my son was probably like 6 and had lice, but we didn't know it.
Oh my God.
My hair was back. I didn't give Gloria Steinem lice, but I definitely had it and didn't know. And was like, something's wrong. Something's off. I just feel like, I don't know. And so that was the backstory. I was definitely in an odd mood and I was like, not really feeling like I was like ready to go home and I didn't know why. I'm like, this is such a great shoot. Why don't you want to be here? And like, yeah. So, and she was rad. Like she was just cool to talk to. And she was very particular about her makeup. Like she, it was one of those instances where it was cool that I could not have the ego and I could just listen to her. And I was probably like, my head itches, but no, she told me like, she likes her eyebrows straight out kind of because she has like up because she has such strong features here that she felt like if you didn't extend it, it wouldn't balance her face and her eyes would disappear. And at first I was like, I don't know about that. I've never done that. And then I was like, let's try. And I did it. And like, she kind of even encouraged me like more. And she's like, you probably think I'm being so difficult. I'm like, girl, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Like, please. I didn't call it girl, but, and that was really neat. And it was helpful because I don't know if she was I was probably not the most confident I've been because of my head situation. And I was kind of like not fully present, but I like that Annie was like, Gloria, you look amazing. Like we should call Suzy back. So that was cool. Like just getting that.
And was working with Annie I've heard horror stories. That was okay.
Yeah, it was fine. I feel like the other times I've worked with her, I think once she yelled at me when I did her own makeup because someone told me to set up on this table at her house. And she was like, that's my daughter's art table. And she kind of snapped at me and I was like, I'm so sorry. And then she apologized to me and was just like, I'm sorry. Like I shouldn't have snapped. And then I saw the way her daughter's nanny kind of talked to her and it was very firm, like Annie, and I realized in a way, she's just one of those creative geniuses and needs the guidance around her and so I just kind of felt grateful that like I could have that perspective and not take things personally because it's easy when and I haven't, so I basically, and it's also just reading vibes, like trying to stay out of the way on set. I'm not like, hello, like me. But yeah, Gloria Steinem also I love that she had like this little Joan Rivers makeup brow root cover, like hair cover. I just loved it, like looking at people's makeup.
I know, right? And their little tricks.
And she's like, leave it to Joan Rivers to come up with that. And I was like, blessed. Like it was just really,
Oh,
but the shoot itself, I think the people who do, I think part of why Annie's shoots have a bad rap is because, the location is like, you're not in a great neighborhood. And it's, if we were doing something that was like an extended story, it would have been really long hours. So I think there's that aspect of it. Like, it's not the glamour that, so I think, that. And a lot of the kids who I think sign up for, they end up doing this job and it's like, you're hungry. You're not, whatever it is. There's nothing.
You're hungry. You didn't bring your nuts. You didn't bring your almonds.
But you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. So learning how to just advocate for yourself, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also cool meeting the young activist there and seeing her talk to Annie on that job.
Wow.
I used to do this job with Town and Country magazine every year. And it was one of those advertorials. And they would have Steffi Graf come, the tennis player, and she was a delight. I just loved Steffi. I don't know. She was just so personable, but she would trust you with her face. She's like, you know what you're doing. Just go crazy. And every year she would do this. It's Women Who Make a Difference for this, I forget, like this watch company that she has a contract with, and you would meet women who just started charities, like, and had been through so much, like a woman who lost her child to a terminal illness and decided that she would dedicate her lives to helping parents not ever have to worry about like material things while they're caring for a sick child. So, and that woman was a model before she started this. So she taught me how to do older faces. Like she just had real cool tricks. But anyway, meeting people, I just got to meet people who started things like that. Those were some of my favorite days. Like, because it can get a little old when you're like, what is the point, right?
Right. And then when you can meet extraordinary people and make them feel at their best, it's really fulfilling. Really? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because there's always like what's the new, my husband has a joke, like, he's like, if you woke up from a coma and you asked, what milk are we on? Like nut milk, oat milk. Right. It's like there's always a new color, a new silhouette. But what is it really?
What milk are we on?
I liked that one. Now
I think it's oat milk. I think
so too. But then there's some like backlash. Who knows?
Oh yeah, always. New York Magazine used to do that Matrix thing that was like,
I liked that.
I think we're on the backlash for oat milk for sure.
I'll still have it once in a while, but yeah.
Yeah. Not my favorite.
Not my favorite.
Oh, Suzy, it was wonderful to talk to you.
Tiffany.
Oh my God. Okay. We have to get together in person soon.
I would love that. Maybe we can have Todd is really good, our friend, at organizing the kit. So maybe we can have a kit party. Okay.
Todd Harris, you're coming and organizing. I'm going to watch Todd organize your kit for our next episode.
And help our backs. Maybe I could get the acupuncturist to come and
get Billy to come and do acupuncture on us. Yes, Billy in Brooklyn.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much, Suzy.
Thanks, Tiffany. I can't wait to see you in person.
Me either.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and I will see you next time. Well, I won't see you, but you know what I mean. Happy Thanksgiving. And if you waited until after Thanksgiving to listen to this, happy holidays. I know, it's crazy. It's almost the end of the year. Bye. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker, with art design by Kelly Riley. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.